Guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. We are creating this videos for the partner enablement where we are going to explain how a partner can sell a solution to a customer on Azure. So the first solution which we are going to talk about today is the multi-layer protection for Azure Virtual Machine Access. Right? So in this video, we're going to learn what exactly is the multi-layer protection is, how it's work, why it's a requirement, and then how exactly this is going to be fit in the customer infrastructure and how you can sell it to the customer when customer is talking about the security or talking about the multi-layer protection on the infrastructure which they are running on the Azure. Well, this is how your agenda. This is how our agenda looks like. So first of all, I'm really apologize for typo. It should be protection, not a projection. And then we're going to learn about how exactly it's work, why it's required, and then I'm going to cover you the one example scenario. I'm going to cover the architecture. I'm going to cover the use case, and I'm going to cover about the solution component which is there. Now let's first understand what exactly a multi-layer protection is. So multi-layer protection is the base on the idea of using the multiple security solution to guard the system from threat. However, a deep defense security policy should be aimed to preventing the threat from becoming a danger. Right? So let's take an example where you are on having your infrastructure running on the Azure. You have a plenty of VMs running in, right? But since that is on a public cloud and that is being on open to everyone, what we need to do, we have to put the multi-layer protections. Okay, so think about it. You have a customer, right? And that customer is want to build the solution on Azure, and he is new to Azure, right? And as a salesperson, you need to think about how you can fulfill his business requirement, right? So it's not all about selling a specific things, selling the Azure. It's all about how you can solve the business problem. So let's say he's going to run the 50 VMs on Azure, but he is not aware of how he need to be put in the security on top of that. Where you can come in place and you can tell customer to, like, this is what we can do. We can put the multi-layer protection on the multiple ways and on a multiple layer through which we can secure the environment, right? How exactly it's work? So multi-layered network security is basically ensure like all the defense components are there. All the defense components has been in place. Whenever any failures or any loophole is found in a system, these defense systems or defense component which is there can be help us to protect of that kind of scenario. So let's take an example where you are running tons of VMs, but you don't have a firewall, right? And ultimately, what is going to be happen since there's a no firewall, no connection monitoring, anything can come in and anything can go out, right? That's where a challenge come in place, because if you can put a firewall or if your customer can put a firewall in the environment, that's where they can protect the environment, right? They can have a multi-layer security on the firewall, and then they have a multi-layer security on the VM. Then they do can have the patch management, they do can have the antivirus software, they do can have the privacy control, digital certification, web protection. All of these are the common security layers which can be included, right? So let's take an example of patch management. We have seen the people are not patching their environment on a regular basis, right? When you are selling a solution, you can sell them a firewall, you can sell them your patch management solution, you can sell your web firewalls, you can sell them antivirus softwares which can help them to secure their environment and can provide them a multi-layer of security inside their environment, right? Well, here are the some of the advantages: protect and guard against upcoming or increasing the polymorphic malwares. One example where I want to pitch in. So we have seen in Azure, when you have a public IP associated with the VM, you will be going to see a lot of brute force attacks, right? But That something can be prevent using the just-in-time access, which is again uh, a product of a Microsoft Defender for Azure and can be enabled on the resources inside the Azure. By the way, if you guys want to learn more about the Azure Defender, there is a link in the description which you can use for that to understand how exactly Azure, Microsoft Defender for Azure work, right? And then you do have a protection for attack coming in through the email, malwares, apps, antivirus, and more. That's something you can prevent through the antivirus. And then you do have, it's also provide you the DNS level security to safeguard against all the threats and the threats are coming inside you on the network level. Now we talked about multi-layer, we talked about advantage. Now let's understand why we need it. Like first, using the multi-layer protection is the most reliable way of keeping your PC or keeping your infrastructure safe from the modern digital threats. Second, while no single component can be offer 100% protection, that's right. Using a combination of layered security elements maximize your chance of catching a virus or a malware at the some point before it can successfully inject or infect your system. So let's take an example, right? When the ransomware hit on the market, all of the antivirus are not aware of that how uh, this ransomware is going to be work or going to be impact in the environment, right? So like a McAfee, like other products, they are not much aware of when initially this malware has been there or ransomware in the market, right? But later on they have increased or they are able to successfully update their databases to protect these kind of attacks. So that's where multi-layer protection come in place and can help you or can help your customers to you know protect on a multi-layer, like, right? In the event of something does not manage to get all the way to the thrones, backup can be used to restore your digital kingdom to its former piece of state. This is again a part of multi-layer security. Here we are talking about the backup. Again, you want to learn how Azure backup works, please go into the description for that video, right? That's where the backup can also help you to restore your state of system to the last state, good state backup, and can help you to protect against the malwares. Well, we are going to talk about the one of the example solution, which is basically incorporated to protect several types of of of, uh, of mechanisms to prevent the attacks or slow down the attacks, basically, which is coming inside the environment. And then it's going to be have other features or other solution in place which can or which will be going to help customer to prevent the cyber attacks like brute force or DDoS attack. This solution is going to be have a multiple features like Azure AD, just-in-time access, Azure Bastion, Azure RBack, and Azure AD conditional access, which is optional but can give you the advantage. And if you want to learn about Azure Bastion or Azure, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, please go into inside the description box. What is the use case of this overall example scenario and the reference architecture which we are going to cover in this video? Each user is legitimate. Each user have a legal intentions. Communication is secure. Access to a VM in Azure only provided to when needed. Employee need access to a remote workstation that hosted on Azure as a VM. User would like to connect to Azure workload. That system should provide the approved connection that are only used for the managed and compliant devices. A system has experienced a terminal number of the brute force attacks. So these are the use case which is going to be uh, used in this reference architecture. Well, this is how your architecture looks like. So you will see you do have a plenty uh, of the components which has been there. So let's start from the top. In the top, first of all, you have a conditional access, which is there to trigger the policies. Like if you in the conditional access policies, you can set up where or how customer can access a Azure subscription, and then you do have a JIT, just in time access, to approve the request for VM access, and then you do have a defender for cloud to provide you the just in time access, and then you do have a bastion, Azure bastion, to get the secure access to a backend VM, and then in the backend you do have the all the VM. So this is how uh, your component is going to be, and how exactly it's going to be work. First, user is going to log in on the portal with the conditional access policy. Second, they will be going to request for JIT, VM access, right? Second, they are going to access request for JIT access for the VM. Third, they are going to request for JIT for the VM. So in the second, they are going to request for role access. In third, they are going to request for a VM access. And for fourth, after gaining the temporary authorizations or the access on the jet just in time, by using the Azure Bastion, they are going to connect with the Azure VM. And you can basically use all of these components in the customer environment, or you can sell all of this component to customer to put the multi-layer of security. Like you can put the conditional access, you can put the JIT, which is included with Azure AD PIM, uh, and then you do can sell them Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which can help them to secure their VMs for brute force attacks and can give them a just-in-time access. And then you can sell them a Bastion also, to basically give through that they can get the access of Azure VMs without having the terminal services, right? So if you want to learn about Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you want to learn about the virtual machine, you want to learn about the Azure Bastion, uh, there will be a link in the description. You can go ahead and check about that. So here are the components. So Azure Virtual Machine is the one of the components which is there to deploy your VMs. You do have a Azure AD, which is a cloud-based identity services to control the Azure and the other cloud apps. PIM is the one which is provide the control, monitor and manage the identity. Just-in-time access is the feature of Defender for Microsoft Cloud, where you can get access of VM for a specific time, and then later on the VM access will be revoked based on the uh, configuration, or the just-in-time request you have given. And with the just-in-time, let's say if it's for 4 hours, but later on you find like you need to extend this access, that's something you can do also. You do have a RBack, you do have a RBack custom roles, you do have a Azure AD conditional access, and you do have a Azure Bastion. So all of these solution components are there in the reference architecture. RBack is basically used to give the access to the end user. Azure RBack custom roles are the specific one where you can customize your access or authorization based on the customer requirement. Like you need to specifically give them access to the Azure Bastion, you will only give them the access to specifically request for just in time access for the VM, reading or listing a VM. That's something you can do with the Azure RBack custom roles. Azure AD conditional policy is basically a tool, and that's something basically allows you to ensure from where or how a user can access to a Azure portal, and this also support the zero trust security model. In this solution, the policy ensure that only authenticated user get the access to the Azure resources. With the conditional access, you can provide uh, like uh, uh, like say an example. So let's take an example where the specific user is going to be login on a specific uh, location or with a specific IP. That's something you can define under the conditional access. Azure Bastion is the one which you can use to take the backup, or sorry, take the remote access of the Azure VM. Let's move to the demo. So in the demo, I would be going to show you how exactly you can basically you know uh, protect your VMs. I will show you how you can put the just-in-time access, how you can restrict the VM, and then I would be going to show you how a just-in-time access work for a Azure VM, right? So let's quickly move to the Azure portal. So in my portal, I already have this Azure VM, and you will see this VM is already having a public access, and this VM have a public IP, right? And with this one, if you see in the networking, this has been allowed for everyone, right? But if you go into the Defender, you can enable the Defender for the subscription, which is again based on the cost. And from here, you can enable the just-in-time for access your VM, and from where you can protect your virtual machine. So just give it a few seconds. If you go here on the overview, you would be able to see what are the controls, and here in the inventory, you can you would be able to see all the resources. And from here, since this has been not discovered yet any kind of VM, but from here, if you want to see all the just-in-time access or the things, you can do that. And later on, you can also put all the resource health and the things inside the Azure Defender for cloud. And if you want to go ahead and have a deep dive of this, there is a separate video has been created for Microsoft Defender for cloud. You can go ahead and check out the link in the description, right? And at the same time, you can basically protect this VM by having the private link, and uh, and then basically you can basically enable the extension on this VM. You can have the antivirus install, like Microsoft Defender is the one which you can do, and you can have the Azure ADD based SSL login, something which you can enable for RBack. And then you do have and the antivirus like a Casper Sky, or something which you can enable inside the VM to protect the Azure virtual machine. And then you do have as soon as this VM is added in the security center, it will automatically going to get a Microsoft Defender inside the Azure VM to protect the VM against all the threat. And then you do have a conditional access just in time which you can use to protect this VM. Well, that's what I have in this demo. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos. Thank you.